Are you looking for a way to advertise your business, offer discounts to your customers, and help veterans at the same time? Then citybyhero.com is the answer. It's your shop local program helping you while providing jobs and funds for veterans. It's simple to sign up, easy for your clients to find your business and your offers, and there are many plans to choose from that fit your budget and your needs. Go to citybyhero.com and sign up today, and we'll make a donation for you to a veterans organization. citybyhero.com.
And now, it's time to Stand for Truth with the host of Stand for Truth Radio, Susan Knowles.
And welcome to the program, everyone. I'm your host, Susan Knowles. Please check out my website at susanknowles.com. And also, don't forget to check out the articles I write for The Blaze and WND.com as a contributor. And also, just don't forget to check us out on Spreaker.com. All the shows are there. You can go there to get the podcast. Just put in Susan Knowles or look for Stand for Truth Radio, and also a segment I do called Knowles on the News. Stand for Truth Radio is also on iTunes. You can get everything free for there. And you can also find me at my YouTube channel under Susan Knowles and at Susan Knowles on Twitter. Now, before we get started today, I just want to say that our hearts, our prayers, and our condolences go out to the victims in Dallas and the victims of the Dallas shooting over the past week. Just a horrendous event that has rocked our nation, and we want to just let them know that we are thinking of them in Dallas. We're praying for them, and we hope that our nation can heal from all of this that's going on. Now, I want to welcome back to our show a guest that's been on before. We just love him, so we have to bring him back every now and then. His name is Rodney Lee Conover, and we're going to be discussing a lot of the current events, including the Dallas shooting. But before we get started, let me go ahead and introduce you to Rodney. During a 25-year career in entertainment, Rodney Lee Conover was a writer for the Rush Limbaugh Show and a conservative stand-up comic for 12 years. Working with the USO, he entertained people and troops all over the world. He also co-hosted talk radio for SiriusXM for 9 years. Along the way, he was on staff with Fox News, Sony Worldwide Network, and has been published in every medium, including print, television, and online. Rodney also ran for Congress in California's 8th District. He's currently the host of the online radio show Conover U, as well as the producer of the TV comedy The Flipside with Michael Loftus. Rodney is also a writer, producer, and senior editor, joeforamerica.com. So let's welcome back to the show, Rodney Lee Conover. How are you?
That sounds like I can't hold down a job there, doesn't it?
It sounds like you multitask a lot.
Sounds like a guy that just kind of like a grifter, just like bouncing around. Nobody wants to keep around for any length of time. I listened to that resume and I was like, wow, who's she talking? Oh, me. She's talking about me. Ellie, thank you for having me back on, Susan. By the way, I have a new website which you're going to love. It's called Rodney Lee Conover's IHaveTheTruth.com, and it's been launched for a couple of months. It's up and kicking ass now. And if you want the truth, you either come to this radio show or you go to Rodney Lee Conover's. It's very exciting.
Wow. So
I'm still a senior editor over there at joeforamerica.com. I don't want to give up anything because God knows I'm bouncing around from job to job. I don't want to do that anymore.
I know you don't want to lose one because you never know if you're going to get that back or something back. So just keep adding to the resume. Don't take away from the resume is what I say.
I got to have that hand firmly on the next trapeze before I let go of the other one. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh!
I'm like a bad girlfriend. Always looking for that next boyfriend.
And finding it. So that's the good thing. You can always just keep going. anything else that I didn't mention that you're doing? Any new projects or anything like that, or anything with the Flipside that I didn't mention that you want to mention now?
Well, you never know what I'm up to. I mean, really, there's just so much. I think you pretty well covered it. There's a couple of new TV shows in the works, but things, they come and go. It's difficult to tell what's going to happen with them. I'm in the pilot stage of a couple of new projects. There might be some exciting news coming up in September, but I'm just going to have to tease it for now because I hate to announce something before it's 100% solid. But now, kind of focusing on the election, even though it doesn't feel like I have a dog in the hunt anymore. You know what I mean? This is the first election where I'm looking around going, so what am I going to do? You know, I don't know what to do.
Well, and here's either the good thing or the bad thing. Because you're in California, it's not going to matter. You could write in your dog Skippy, and it's not going to matter because California is going to go to Hillary whether we want it to or not. I mean, and that's just the way it is. It's not a popular vote. It's the electoral vote. Does that take away a little of the burden?
No, because as you know, I'm a national, prominent figure throughout the nation, and so my words extend far beyond California, and my influence is it's just tremendous throughout the world now.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's on the resume.
When I was running for Congress, one of the things that I told people is that it used to be the job. It used to be a congressman's job was to go to Washington and extract as much taxpayer money as humanly possible and bring it back to their district. That forever was a congressman's job. Now, congressman's job is to go to Washington and stop it. Stop all that extraction of money. So, in a way, when you vote for your congressman, it's really everybody's congressman. It's not just for that district or just for that state. It's a vote for the nation. So you got to look around all over the nation for these good Congress people to run against bad Republicans or run against challenge Democrats, because all congressmen should be going, all good conservatives should be going to Washington to stop the spending, not to encourage it or bring back money to their districts. You know what I mean? The country's become more of a national movement.
Yeah, I think the Congress members just look at spending now because that's what we've been doing for the past 8 years, and it's been accepted, if you will, or at least it hasn't been stopped. And now, I'm thinking they don't feel that there's any reason to do that themselves. If everybody else is getting away with it, why not just go ahead and do the same thing? Even though you're right, that's not the conservative view, and we've gotten away from the conservative view, and I think that's a big, part of the problem.
Yeah, and we keep sending, 2010 was a historic election. 2014 was a historic election. We keep sending what we think are good conservatives to Congress, and 2/3 of them turn their backs on us. I don't know why. I guess they get seduced by the whole situation, or maybe they figure out that they just like being a congressman, or maybe it's just flat-out bribery, because they're the ones deciding what bribery is, so I guess they can get bribed if they want to. But good news is 1/3 of the people we send there, good conservatives, they stick to their guns, the Trey Gowdies, the Mike Lees, the Louis Gomerts, there are really fantastic, Ted Cruz, fantastic conservatives who put their country in front of their own careers, and I believe that. And we just got to keep doing that. And boy, I tell you, if Hillary gets elected, which I think she will be, and I've been actually the day after the 2012 election, I made a bold prediction that our next president would be Hillary Clinton. I still feel that way. I don't hope that she's president. I'm just saying, from a political analysis, I've always thought she would be president. Just because of the numbers, the numbers don't lie. Time around 2016, man, 2018 is going to make 2010 look like child's play.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding you. I think we're going to see. We might have all Republican conservative Congress. There might not be any more Democrats left in Congress because people are going to. I mean, I hope they rise up in their local districts and do the right thing, challenge these goofy Republicans who don't know how to vote. These turncoats. So sick of them. So sick of the Paul Ryans and the Mitch McConnells of the world. Sick of it. It just makes me irritated. Can you hear the irritation in my voice, Susan?
I can hear it. Well, and I feel your pain because, you know, the thing with Hillary, the way everybody looks at it, she was promised this. If you step aside and let Obama in, then you're going to be the next president. We're going to let you in. And if you look at what's going on in the news with her, as you and I have talked about before, Teflon Hillary, nothing she does gets her in trouble. You and I, had we handled classified information with the type of gross negligence that she's handled it and what's been said by the FBI director, you and I would be in jail. We wouldn't be on the radio talking right now.
I think it's hysterical that the FBI director spent 20 minutes laying out in grand detail all of her crimes, all of the crimes that she committed. He laid out 7 of them. And then he said, but we're not going to prosecute her. He never said she didn't commit any crimes. In fact, he said plainly, in plain language, here's the crime she committed. Now, he also went on to talk about intent, which intent has nothing to do with it here.
Right.
It's like it's. However, when you put a server, or in this case 4 servers, in your house, that's intent. When you have your lawyers who do not even have national security clearance, when you have them go in and erase 30,000 emails, Susan, that's intent. That's not gross negligence. She did that on purpose. So this idea that she did not commit crimes is absurd. It's just absurd on the face of it. Now, when Loretta Lynch emerged from her private plane after a private meeting with Bill Clinton, and said and announced that she was going to go along with whatever the FBI recommended, you knew right then and there the FBI was not going to recommend an indictment. Because there's no way she would say that unless she knew the outcome. What if the FBI would have recommended the death penalty for violation of the Espionage Act? You going to think Loretta Lynch is going to go along with that? No. She knew what the FBI was going to do because she had been told by Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton knew. That whole thing is such a farce. It's such a farce. I mean, here's a guy who's Bill Clinton is a material witness in this case, and he's under investigation, 2 other separate investigations by the AG's office, by the DOJ, into the Clinton Foundation. And yet he's allowed to have a personal, private interview with Loretta Lynch, and there aren't people taking notes. There's no transcripts. There's no list of staffers that were there, if there were any present. It is a farce.
Yeah, and not only that, the fix was in for her long before Loretta Lynch came out and said, I'm just going to go along with the FBI, because President Obama would never have endorsed her had he known that she was going to be indicted for anything. He's not going to go out there and say something like that. You know, as I've said before, he wants to go to the UN. He doesn't want to have a soiled record, when he goes. So he's not going to come out and endorse a criminal or a potential criminal. He knew, Loretta Lynch knew, the FBI knew, and I'm sure the FBI was told, do you like your job? Do you like staying here? Do you like everything the way it is? Well, I hope we can continue to have you stay here and do those type of things around. So, I mean, Comey, I've heard people say, Comey just he wanted to live another day, so he came out and did what he was supposed to do. And as you recall, the FBI, when they were having that private meeting on the plane, or whoever plane it was, the FBI wasn't around. The FBI basically condoned having them and allowing them to have that private meeting because the FBI works for the DOJ. They take their direction from the DOJ. So the American public, a lot of the American public, they don't know that, and they just accept it as, oh, it was just a conversation, no harm, no foul, nothing happened. Why are you conspiracy theorists talking that way?
Do you know how much security has to be coordinated when a former president of the United States and a sitting head of the Justice Department meet? Do you know the kind of coordination that has to go between Loretta Lynch and the Secret Service? I mean, we're talking about days of negotiation and organizing and planning. The idea that this was just somebody, I just ran into her in the tarmac. I mean, how freaking stupid do you think I am? My God. And then to organize it in such a way where they could be alone with no transcripts, with no staff there to take notes, with nobody present, nothing under, I just ran into her in the tarmac. I just stopped in to see Loretta, see how the grandchildren were. I mean, it's incredible. And if you think the media was in the tank for Barack Obama, you gotta wait until you start seeing what happens over the next 3 months. They're not even trying to hide it anymore.
No.
I mean, this genitalia vote is just off and running. And boy, talk about not reporting on this FBI thing. You wouldn't even know what's going on if you watched ABC. I did love what Trump did the other day, though. He was on ABC, and George Stephanopoulos is a quote-unquote journalist, former chief of staff for Bill Clinton, great friends with Hillary Clinton. Yeah, there's a real unbiased journalist, a guy who he donated $75,000 to the Clinton Foundation, and he didn't report it. Yeah, there's a real unbiased journalist. Got caught with his hand in the cookie. He starts grilling Trump about Trump not releasing his tax returns, and Trump just went after him. Trump said, well, I know you're good friends with Hillary, and, you don't report your donations to her. That about Trump I really love, is somebody finally watching the watchers and calling the press the scumbags that they are. And that part of Trump is priceless. I do really appreciate it. I've always liked that part about Trump running. Someone suggested to me the other day, Susan, something I've been giving some thought to, and that is we've got this Barack Obama for 8 years, obviously a far left. To call him a far leftist doesn't do, people on the far left justice. He's a collectivist. He's a collectivist. He's a far left socialist at best. He is a statist. He grew up in the fundamentalism of Islam, and we've had that for 8 years. Right. His parents were communists, absolutely. Right. His mentors were all communists.
Yep.
Someone suggested to me that Donald Trump can be a transitionary figure to go from Barack Obama to a true conservative president. And counting it, and I've been giving it a lot of thought, maybe we need something in between Barack Obama and getting, a decent guy in there like Ted Cruz. On the other hand, if Trump gets beat, I'll tell you, the day after, I am going full blow Ted Cruz in 2020. I think it almost gives Ted Cruz a shoe-in for 2020 unless there's rampant voter fraud. And, a woman like Hillary Clinton who's willing to sell out the country for money, certainly she's willing to rig a vote. But I think you'll see an incredible uprising finally for a decent guy. I'm on the phone I'm being asked for money, but I'm on a radio show. Sorry. Seemed like a decent kid, but he wouldn't take yes for an answer. I always love it. The people who ask me for money, they have nicer shoes than I do. That always
That's why they have nicer shoes than you do, because they're asking people for money.
Yeah, he's got a brand new skateboard in his backpack. I see. Hey,
wow.
Whatever.
Well, but I think what you were saying about Hillary, is absolutely true. I think it would be a shame if the country has to be sort of shocked back into, an oh my God state, what have I done type thing, because the country is going there now and very rapidly with different things that we're seeing happening in the news. I would hate for us to have to go through Hillary, and I'm not sure you come out the other side with Hillary. People have talked about, Obama is going to be a dictator. I don't know. I think with Hillary, you may just get that if that occurs.
Maybe, but remember what happened to her husband. He came into office in 1992, and he had a solid majority in the Senate and a solid majority in the House of Representatives. He comes in, all Democrats. First thing they do is pass the largest tax increase in the history of the country, and the second thing they do is try to nationalize health care through Hillary Care. Well, 1994. The biggest shift in political power in the history of the country. That's what happened. People woke up and went, what? I really do think the same thing will happen in 2018 if Hillary is elected. And this time it's going to be with real conservatives, much like 1994. I mean, those were real conservatives. I mean, they came in with the contract with America, and they just absolutely blew everybody away. They forced President Clinton to sign a welfare reform bill. They forced President Clinton to sign a balanced budget. I mean, just a lot of good things happened. They forced him to have across-the-board tax cuts, and those tax cuts piled up on top of the Reagan tax cuts of the 80s to free up capital, which saw the technology boom in the mid to late 90s. That was all because of Reagan and a Republican Congress. So I'm not totally pessimistic about this situation. I know everybody's very gloom and doom, but Hillary wants there's one thing Hillary wants more than money and fame. She wants to get out from under the shadow of the abusive, horny redneck named Bill Clinton. She has been publicly humiliated for 35 years. She has been her and her daughter, no less, have been dragged through the mud by that horrible man, that serial sexual molester, that credibly accused rapist, has held Hillary down and absolutely figuratively slapped her silly. And she's put up with it for her own political gain. And boy, I'm telling you, Susan, more than anything else, she wants a legacy. And there's the perfect way for her to get it, and that is through a massive conservative Congress, because that Congress might be in a position to fix this country, to get it back on track. She'll get the credit, much like Bill Clinton got the credit in the 90s for doing what? For being forced to do the right thing. He didn't want to sign welfare reform. He didn't want to sign a balanced budget. He vetoed 2 balanced budgets. And finally, his own party came to him and said, dude, we are catching it bad at the polls. You need to sign that next balanced budget, or we're going to help the Republicans override the veto. And so he signed it and took the credit for it. Hillary's got the same opportunity.
Yeah, and who do you think, now you had talked about the other day, I heard you talking about who you think Hillary is going to pick for VP. Why don't you talk a little bit about that and your opinion on that?
Well, I've been saying this for a while now, and I'm sticking to my guns. I don't hear anyone else saying the complete situation that I'm articulating, and that is this. She will pick, I think his first name is Julian, or maybe it's Julian, I'm not sure, Julian Castro out of San Antonio. He is busy. Now, you're going to think this is a joke. but it's not. He is busy taking Spanish lessons as we speak. I'm not kidding you. He's actually taking Spanish lessons so he can speak more fluently in Spanish. He will pick him as VP if they win. Bill Clinton will not be first man or first gentleman, whatever you want to, first lady, whatever you want to call it. He will not take that position. He will continue to run the Clinton Foundation because, let's face it, you think that she shook down these foreign countries as Secretary of State? Holy guacamole. Can you imagine the shakedown that's going to occur with the Clinton Foundation when she's president? And Bill's got to be there to run it. They can't turn that over to somebody else. And who will be First Lady? Chelsea Clinton will be installed as First Lady, and the media will eat it up. They will spend months on the greatest First Lady that ever walked the earth, Chelsea Clinton, and she'll have her little cause, probably some sort of anti-fracking, or who knows, some sort of environmental cause, and they will eat it up, and she will get 8 years in the White House, and then Julian Castro will pick her as VP in, what would that be, 2022. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Take it to the bank. I'm never wrong. I predicted that Mitt Romney long ago, and right after 2008 was done, I predicted Mitt Romney would win the nomination and lose to Barack Obama in a re-election. Now, one thing I didn't predict was the rise of Trump. I'm shocked about that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were. And speaking of him, there's been some rumors going around that he's looking at a former, military man who is a Democrat, and he was an officer, higher ranking. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I've never thought presidential picks. I've never thought they really meant the damn thing. Maybe Lyndon Johnson, because he stuffed the ballot box and won Texas for Kennedy. Maybe a little. If Hillary picks Julian Castro, that certainly will be a help. But I've never given too much. Did anybody vote for George Walker Bush because he picked Dan Quayle? Did anybody vote for George W. Bush because he picked Dick Cheney? Did anybody vote for Bill Clinton because he picked Al Gore? My answer is no. So, I know what the premise is, that Trump is light on foreign policy. So if he gets this guy in here, anytime there's a foreign policy question, he can hand it over to his trusty vice president. I get it. I know what that's there. But it doesn't impress me. It doesn't, I don't know, does that make people want to vote for Trump more? I think people who want to vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump. I think he could pick me as vice president. They still vote for him.
Well, I think, and this guy, it's Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, and we just want to kind of get the names out there. Somebody who took a stand on radical Islam and what used to be the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, but because, of course, he took a stand on Islam, he wasn't really liked that much by the administration. I think the only problem that a lot of people are having is that the fact that he's a Democrat. And if something were to happen to Trump, if he becomes president, then you have a Democrat in the White House, and what does that mean for the country? That's the only thing. And I go back to what I said before. For me, if Trump really wants to have a great VP, it should be Alan West. I really do believe that. I think people, if he picked Alan West, I think people that were on the fence might become very excited. Those sitting there sort of that are not liking Trump. But I don't know if Alan West would do it, but I really think that's who he should pick. Now, will he? I doubt it. But,
hold on just a second, Susan. I got to do something here. Take about 2 seconds. Iowa finger group. I want a large coffee, just black, no room.
See, this is what happens when our guests, they just do whatever on the show, and they just order coffee or anything else. This part of the show, people, part of the show.
If I'd have been thinking ahead, I would have had one of the callers order for me. That would have been funny.
See, we should have done it.
That's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought about that. Alan West would be a good one, and yes, he would accept because Alan West is a military man.
Yeah,
His dad
I know.
was a military man. His mom was a military woman. And what is the thing? The thing is to serve your country more than anything else. And Alan West, I don't know what his opinions of Donald Trump are. I haven't been following him. But no matter what his opinions are, he would accept to serve his country because, let's face it, the whole idea is you got to beat Hillary.
And
for the country.
He's somebody had asked him before, would you serve as VP? And basically the answer was, it wasn't no and it wasn't yes, but it was sort of on the line of that would be something that I would pray about and really give thought to. So he certainly did not rule it out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so for Trump, I don't know why he's not jumping on that. I really don't know, but there's been no rumors of him talking to him, when there's been rumors of him talking to almost everybody else, a couple other people. And I just think that I think really the public would get behind that more than anybody else that he could pick. That's just my opinion on that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens because the convention's coming.
I don't know if there's three there or not. I just haven't. The only thing about Alan West was that he thought that he had written an article the other day about the decision with the FBI being a good one because it makes for a weaker candidate, and I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I'm buying into that.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. We hear so many rumors.
I think Hillary followers would vote for her if she ate a live baby on television wearing a Nazi pantsuit. I think they'd still vote for her. I really do.
I do too. I mean, I really do. But I think what my concern is getting the vote on our side. People are saying, well, I'm just going to stay home, or I'll just, write in anybody else. And in some states, that's okay. Like I said, in California, I don't care what you do. It's going to go. It's a blue state. It's going to go to Hillary. But in other states where it's really important, we need to make sure that people are out there voting and not voting for Hillary. So,
well, it's not going to happen. Susan, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's just not.
You're right.
I mean, we proved it. We prove it time and time again. When I say we, talking about conservatives, we prove it time and time again. If we don't get our guy in, we take our ball and bat and go home. Mitt Romney got beat by 3 million votes, and 4 million evangelical registered voters did not vote. Okay?
Yeah.
Right there is the win. Right there's the win.
Yes.
All upset. He's a Mormon or he passed out, whatever their issue was. Yep. They couldn't bring themselves to vote for him. Well, okay. Congratulations, folks. Congratulations. You got Barack Obama. I hope you feel better about your stand, your principled stand. Look, you can compromise on strategy without compromising on principle, okay?
Right.
You can do that. And it's crazy to go, okay, my guy didn't get it. Like my guy was Ted Cruz. Am I going to him in? As a delegate, am I going to go to Ohio and say, no, we have a broker convention? Come on. That's stupid. It's just ridiculous. But believe me, Susan, you might see more conservatives stay home this time than 2012.
I'm thinking that's true. I'm really thinking that's going to happen because it's really emotional this time. I mean, with Romney, it was like, okay, he's Mormon. I can't vote for Mormon. I'm staying home. It was kind of matter of fact. Oh, no, I just can't do it. It's more now. Trump got started off on the wrong foot in the beginning with a lot of people, and they just never came back. They're upset with him. They're angry about that. And they've just never come back. And there are other reasons, but that's, predominantly, I think, what's bothering people. And so they're not willing to even take a second look. And it'll be what it's going to be.
Don't get me sorry, loud motorcycle. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to blame conservatives if Trump gets beat. I'll tell you who's to blame, Donald Trump. I happen to know Ted Cruz, and I know his wife, and I know them to be some of the most decent people I've ever met in politics. And for Ted Cruz and his slimeball minions, the people that he surrounded himself, for them to come out, call Ted Cruz a liar, accuse him of all kinds of things, get his buddy at the National Enquirer to print all kinds of lies about cheating on Heidi, and, oh, Heidi's a terrible person because she's a banker. Oh, yes, all bankers are bad, right? And then Trump goes right out and hires as his main guy at Goldman Sachs. I mean, come on.
I know.
I know. When you do that, when you use these slimeball tactics, you cannot sit there and just go, okay, now vote for me. No.
Yeah.
People are not going to vote for you because you did that.
Yeah.
Tons of them, millions of people are not going to vote for Donald Trump because he's a douchebag. And that's the bottom line. And when Hillary wins, it is Trump and Trump's supporters' fault. End of story. Don't come to me and say, conservatives, they stayed home for a reason. They stayed home because they could not hold their nose tight enough to vote for Donald Trump. Now, I voted for Trump, and I will vote for Trump. But I'm just telling you, you can't call people names like that. You can't call a guy's wife ugly. Just because you're married for the third time to some underage model or whatever the hell this woman is. I mean, I don't mean to put her down, but let's face it. And that doesn't bother me. Actually, that was probably over the line what I just said. But for him to come out and call Heidi ugly, come on, and don't tell me it wasn't you. Oh, I had nothing to do with the national. Oh, BS.
Yeah.
And they printed that Cruz had an affair with Donald Trump's spokesperson.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Well,
and all these women came out and said, wait a minute. That never happened. This wasn't a situation with Herman Cain where they hired these trailer trash to come out of the apartment complex and say, oh, yeah, Herman Cain made an inappropriate joke around me. That wasn't the case. These women, all of them, came out and said, I never had an affair with Ted Cruz. It's ridiculous. Good friends with him. So,
I know. It's a total miscalculation on his part. Really, really poorly done. I mean, you have to say that, and his advisors advised him poorly, or he didn't listen to them, whatever the case may be. You don't tick off people and then expect them to come back and embrace you. It typically does not happen. And he really hasn't made an effort to come back and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said all those things. Please come back. It's kind of like, well, I don't think we need him anyway. We're going to go after the Bernie supporters. Kind of, to me, another miscalculation in what you should do in your campaign. Nothing against Trump. It's just in anybody's campaign, you just don't do that in general.
Well, I've been wrong about Trump. The nation has been wrong about Trump. The media has been wrong about Trump. So I'm keeping an open mind about maybe I'm wrong again. I mean, I could very well be dead wrong. And, of course, who doesn't want to see Trump debate Hillary? Who doesn't want to see that? I think even Democrats want to see that. Right? She has never been called out. She has never called out on anything. When they interviewed her, they had her up to quote unquote testify at the Benghazi hearings. Do you know that she did so? She wasn't under oath. They didn't even make her go under oath. When she was questioned by the FBI for 3 hours the other day, it wasn't under oath.
Yeah, and no record of it.
No record, no nothing, no transcript. We don't know what happened. They might have went in there and had tea. I mean, who knows? Well, I know they didn't have cookies because she doesn't bake cookies. I remember that from long ago. I don't even know what we were talking about, but I want to see her called out. I want to see somebody look over at her and say, you know what? You're a liar.
I know, that was great.
Liar. Ankles, pantsuit. You're a big fat liar. I want to see that look on her face. And when she comes back and says something about whatever, women and relationships, hey, Aren't you the woman that can't keep your own dog in the yard? How long are you going to let that fat redneck humiliate your only daughter in public? I can't wait. The Trump better not puss out.
Well, it is going to be it's going to be a circus, like it always is when it involves the Clintons. It's going to be talking around and talking very slowly, picking every word that she's possibly ever thought of in the English language, so she can make sure she uses the correct word. So that is something that I think most of America is going to tune in to watch that. In the time that we have left, I want to get a little bit into what's going on in the rest of the world over outside of the election. Basically what happened in Dallas. What are your thoughts on the Dallas shootings and what we've seen unfolding with what's occurred with that?
Well, I think enough time has passed and enough evidence is out there and enough quotes have been quoted and enough people have made their proclamations in various interviews and speeches and Facebook and everything else. I've been holding my tongue, which is rare, but I'm not any longer. And I am ready to say this definitively. Black Lives Matter is a racist, anti-American, radical hate group, no different than the KKK, and should be treated as such. When you have the founder of Black Lives Matter coming out and advocating violence against police, first of all, they should be arrested for doing that. I think that's against the law.
Yeah.
And now
absolutely.
the other founder came out today and said something hysterical, though. The whole Dallas incident was a white conspiracy to make Black Lives Matter look bad. Well, let me tell you, if that's the case, if the shooting in Dallas, the killing of the cops in Dallas, conspiracy to make Black Lives Matter look bad, it worked. Because Black Lives Matter could not look any worse. But you know what's sad? The president, the attorney general, and Hillary Clinton, to a lesser degree, are praising the efforts of Black Lives Matter. Can you imagine if George W. Bush praised the KKK? They had a fake say it. No. They're great. I mean, there's no difference. You've got a leader. You know, when a president praises Black Lives Matter, in the wake of violence against police officers, against police enforcement, and specifically targeting white police officers, when the President of the United States comes out and says and praises, is saying, in effect, that those officers had it coming because there is a systemic preponderance of racial bias, shootings, killings, and arrests by law enforcement against the black community. He's saying he's condoning it.
Yeah.
End of story.
Well, and he always gets around that by saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm not really condoning it or anything else. I'm just telling you the truth or the facts." Well, the truth need to be backed up by facts, and he never comes out with facts or statistics with any resources. I wrote an article. It's called "Don't Allow the Progressive Agenda to Divide." To divide us along racial lines. It's up on the blaze.com today. And basically, I put statistics in there which show that more, and we all know this, more white people than black people are killed by police officers. And, I mean, those are the facts. Sorry. And this was done by a left-wing extremist online, theguardian.com, right? This is how they've been described, okay? So they set out in 2015 to prove that all cops in America were racist, and they wanted to show that cops were killing blacks one right after the other more than whites. And what they found just wasn't the truth. Just wasn't the truth. But you don't hear the president or Loretta Lynch quoting those stats. They don't quote stats at all.
You know, there's a new survey out by a Harvard professor, African-American Harvard professor, a big study regarding the same subject.
Uh-huh.
And the conclusion was, when it came to, force, violent force, in other words, shooting by police, there was no racial bias. And in fact, the Harvard kind of showed his cards when he said, "I was surprised at what I found." In other words, he went in with a conclusion and didn't come out with anything to back it up, and he's surprised. It's a big story. Two things on this, Susan, if I can remember them. One of them is the line. The line is, well, more arrests of black people by percentage are made than white people, and there's more black people in prison by percentage than white people. Therefore, there is a systemic racial bias on the part of national police enforcement and the courts. Okay?
Right.
Well, if you believe that, then you must also believe that policemen and judges hate men, because there is a far bigger percentage of men in prison than women.
Right.
So there must be a sexist bias, a systemic, pervasive sexist bias against men. Using the same logic, why are there more men in prison? Because more men commit crimes. That's why. It's got nothing to do with their gender, you idiots.
I know.
And number two. Let me say number two.
Sure.
The second thing is that white police and police enforcement in general targets blacks for shooting and killing. They target. They have a racial bias, and they actually target black people. Well, that seems like a lot of work to me. To shoot black people, you always got to cover it up. You got to hunt them down. You got to go into the neighborhoods, dangerous neighborhoods, a lot of them dangerous neighborhoods. You got to shoot black people because you're biased against black people. Then you got to cover it up. You got to make it look like it was that. That seems like a lot of work to me, Susan.
Yeah.
If law enforcement really, really wanted to wipe black people off the face of the inner cities, you know what they would do? Nothing. Don't go to those neighborhoods and then just wait. The minute that ever happened, the only people that are killing black people in mass are other black people. And you never hear about that. If there were no police presence in minority communities, it would be a circus. It would be a shootout, like there is in the South Side of Chicago, like the LA rioting. The LA rioting took place because there was no police presence.
Right, exactly.
Not because of Rodney King. It was just a sick excuse. So
yeah,
if you're anybody hoping for a race war.
With LA, as I recall, with Rodney King, the police, when they came there to help, they were shot at. They weren't allowed to come in there, and that's why it got so bad. Because I mean, it was just it was chaos.
The police chief told them to stand down.
Yeah.
And as soon as it was obvious that the police weren't going to do anything, the place literally went up in flames.
Yeah. It really did.
If the cops would have went down to Crenshaw and Normandy and shot a few people, there wouldn't have been any rioting. But those cops would have been put on trial.
Oh,
so that's
absolutely.
Why it didn't happen.
And I think he may have told them to stand down just because, I mean, I really do remember, if memory serves, I remember them trying to go there and getting shot at. And I think at that point they just said, okay, just back out, because they didn't want to lose anybody to what was happening.
Well, the mayor was calling the police chief a racist and saying it's all the cops' call this violence, it's all the cops' fault. And the police chief said, oh, really? Oh, really? You want to see violence? I'll tell my men to stand down. You'll see what happens.
Wow.
And he did. And that place went up for grabs. I was right in the middle of it. There is. I spent the riots in Holiday Inn in Burbank, by the way. There was but I'm serious. There's the elderly people, minority communities, they want policemen to be around.
They absolutely do.
There was not a police presence in minority communities. There would just be a long, drawn-out shootout by gangs trying to gain territory.
Yeah.
There would be mass killings. Heck, there's mass killings already. Imagine what it would be like if it wasn't cop. And here the president comes out talking about a systemic bias toward blacks. He's condoning the retribution that we saw in Dallas. And now I see where these groups, the new Black Panther, I love how they name it, the new Black Panther.
All new.
No, we're not the Black Panthers. Oh, no. We're the new Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What do you believe in? Pretty much the same thing.
Same thing,
There's this other group, the African National Congress, or some crap. I'm seeing evidence now, reading stories with evidence that they actually directed this guy. I forgot his name already, the shooter. He's got a weird name.
Micah was
Micah
the first name.
X. Micah X.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if there was a little coordination there. One thing the media did not do, Susan, which I'm sure shocked you and myself, as soon as the shootings occurred, there was no talk of Sarah Palin doing it, which I thought was shocking. Usually
she's the cause of everything.
Usually it's a white, angry Tea Party NRA member. Usually they come right out with it. Had to be. They didn't do that this time. I guess they learned their lesson that that's never the case.
Well, and it's also interesting that the following night over the weekend and on Saturday, when they were having all of these peaceful protests all over the country, we weren't seeing that as we always have. We've seen them on CNN and Fox and everywhere, and they literally didn't show any of those because I turned it on when I was watching on Periscope. I would get something, it would come through my Twitter feed, whatever, but I turned on the TV. I wasn't seeing any of that, which surprised me. I don't know who gave them the stand down order not to show things, because they normally want to show the worst of the worst that they can find. Anything that if a old lady's trying to cross the street and a cop goes up to her, oh look, police brutality, that type of thing. But we didn't have that this time. But to talk about, Rodney, one thing you mentioned I wanted to get back to, when you talk about police officers and the rumor that they like to spout, saying that, police officers hate black people and they're trying to kill them all. When I went through the police academy in California, which we had a diverse group, white, Asian, Hispanic, black, there was no one, and I can say that, we had a big class. There was nobody in the class who was a racist, who said anything off color, nothing. Everybody got along. And for them to even say something like that, it's ludicrous. And I hope people understand how ludicrous that really is. I think, smart people understand that is a ludicrous statement that cops would just try to pinpoint and kill black people. That's crazy.
Well, two interesting things. First of all, I think it's interesting that you were watching TV in a submarine. You said you were watching through a periscope. And second thing, I find it, what happens is that the mental image that you see in the media just reinforces the, cops hate black people. And then you see nothing but coverage of Michael Brown and the Ferguson, Missouri. And the overall effect is that for people who are kind of on the stupid side and for people who don't get a whole lot of information, the mental image is that cops are out to get you.
Yeah.
Cops are out to get us. And, I'm hearing from police officers and people who deal with police officers. I've been dealing with law enforcement for 25 years on many levels. I used to work on a show called LAPD Life on the Beat. I'm trying to remember the Awareness Foundation, Inner City Slickers, benefits uniformed officers, first responders, people. I've been to Camp Pendleton more than my nephew, who's a Marine. I mean, I've been. My first USO show was in 1989. I think I know a little bit of what I'm talking about, and that is police do not want to go in and arrest people.
No.
They are reticent to even get out of their vehicles. And you can't blame them. If they go in and arrest somebody, their careers are going to be ruined. Even if they're exonerated, their careers are still ruined. You think the guy that shot Michael Brown still has a career? He's probably had to change his name, even though he was fully exonerated, completely exonerated, beyond any trace of a doubt. This guy was exonerated. But by that time in his career, he's got the president, he's got Jesse Jackson, he's got everybody calling him a murderer. Well, that's what people remember. People don't remember that this guy was found not just not guilty, but he was about to lose his own life when he shot that thug who had just knocked over a convenience store. My God, they don't remember that Michael Brown is a thug that was just robbed a store, strong-armed a convenience store. They don't remember that.
And I think, too, what the media does not want to show people, I don't know if you saw this video that's been going around, but all of these people just randomly went to Dallas Police Department. The cops lined up and through and were hugging police officers, people white, black, Hispanic, Asian, you name it. Everybody was coming through the line. Everybody was hugging the officers, and everybody was saying thank you. They want us to believe that everybody just hates black people, that black people hate white people, that white people hate black people, that the whole world is turned upside down, when the truth of the matter is the majority of the people don't feel like that on either side. They're not for these Black Lives Matter protests or anything else. If you look at the people who are in the protests, they're mostly young people, misguided, probably paid by a lot of people, and they're there because they've got nothing better to do. That's who that is, and people should not forget that.
Well, people are being recruited and paid on Craigslist and various other places where they advertise, and it's the same with the Donald Trump protests. They're being paid. These are not protests. These are propaganda wars paid by billionaires. And
absolutely.
The Dallas thing I did know about because Scotty Osborne, my co-host, Conover U, which was this morning, was actually there at the Dallas station reporting on that live, and so I was fully aware of that. And of course, the only way you're going to be aware of it is to listen to this show or Conover U, because it's damn sure not going to be on CNN, and it will not be on ABC. It will not be anywhere where the narrative doesn't fit, which is about 90% of broadcast television.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's not going to be there. Now, Rodney, we are running out of time, as we always do when we have great guests on. Tell us again the website that everybody should go to and more about your show, where they should go to hear that.
Well, I want everybody to go to www.ihavethetruth.com, just like it sounds. ihavethetruth.com. It's my own branded site. Yes, Rodney Lee Conover is sick of making other people famous. He's finally going to make himself famous. I had a great time over the last 25 years working for Rush Limbaugh and Coulter and Herman Cain and a who's who of Republicans, conservatives, and just great people. But now it's Rodney Lee Conover's ihavethetruth.com. So that's where I want you to go. The most important thing about that site is that it's just what you and I were talking about, Susan. It's stories you're not going to find elsewhere. And that's what I pride myself on. If you want, the everyday story, which we could print, that's easy. You got to go elsewhere. Go to ihavethetruth.com. You're going to find these interesting stories. Anyway, I know you're running out of time. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you so much for coming on. We will have you back again, and it's been great, and we'll talk to you soon.
I'll smell you later.
All right, bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. It's really been great to have you here. I hope you enjoyed the show. Rodney is a great guy. Go to his website, Rodney Lee Conover, and we'll see you again next week. God bless you. Take care.
Hi, I'm Susan Knowles. Do you often feel that our world is upside down, where fiction has become fact and America seems to be unrecognizable? Then you'll want to read my fiction, Freedom's Fight, A Call to Remember. Go on a journey with Bethany, who longs for the country she once knew, before the regime took over and changed it beyond recognition. Go with her on her quest to return America to its rightful place. Order Freedom's Fight, A Call to Remember at Amazon.com today.